So, oh,
got it. All right. Oh, wait, does this show me YouTube? Okay. Redirecting. There we go.
so, oh,
Yay. Okay, we are live.
we live, baby.
Live.
So what are we live on?
So we are live right now on YouTube,
Okay.
but it's streaming there. So, but we're on Zoom. Hey, nurse CEOs, it is me, the bedside rescuer, Crystal P, the beauty MP, back again with a very requested interview. A lot of you guys have asked if I can interview the Telehealthpreneur, which I wanted to. I just had to get myself together. And we're finally doing it. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Tifany Brown, AKA the Telehealthpreneur, to the channel. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. And thank all of your viewers for requesting for me to be here. I'm excited.
Yes, we are definitely looking for other nursing opportunities. And I think yours is one that's great. I had said that, I will definitely be obviously tuning in because I'm doing it, but jotting down notes and things that I can get as well from learning how to start my own telehealth practice. So I'm just going to ask a couple questions, kind of pick your brain, and then I will check the YouTube to see if anyone's live who has any questions. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and then your journey as a nurse and then nurse practitioner.
Okay. So, like Crystal said, my name is Tifany Brown. I am a certified family nurse practitioner, and I have been practicing in telehealth for the last 2 years. So in that time frame, I have acquired 36 state licenses, 36 NP state licenses. I believe I am licensed as an RN, and I think 48 of them. So with that, I do have a wellness clinic. I have a wellness clinic in Texas. It is a hybrid clinic. So it is 20% in person, 80% virtual. And then with that, I also practice in other states with my telehealth practice. And then I leverage my licenses to contract my services and my business out to other businesses for telehealth. And I've been a nurse practitioner I'm going into my 5th year, almost time to renew that whole process. But yeah, that's my background as an RN. I was an ICU nurse.
Okay. How long were you ICU nurse for?
I was an ICU nurse for four years, I believe.
Okay. And then what made you want to go back to school to do your NP?
Yeah, it was definitely because I was an ICU nurse. So in the ICU that I worked in for the longest period of time, it was a small ICU it was a small hospital. So the ICU was small, and the doctors would come and round at our hospital the last part of the day. So we were pretty much on our own the whole day. So we got used to placing orders and reading labs and knowing exactly what the patients needed. And then the doctors would come, they would review it and basically like sign off on them. Right. So I was okay with it because I actually liked it. I like to dig deep and, not do the same thing over and over every day. So I liked it until one day a doctor came and he basically yelled at me for putting orders in and saving his patient's life, I tell you. And so basically I told him, I said, you didn't answer the phone. If you're that concerned about your patient, then you should have answered the phone first. Second, you're welcome for keeping them alive while you were sleeping in your bed. And at that point I was like, why am I arguing with the doctor for doing his job? So I learned about nurse practitioners. I had already knew about nurse practitioners, but I didn't know the full capacity of nurse practitioners. So I learned more about it and I was like, that's exactly what I need to do. And I applied and boom, became a nurse practitioner.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love the journey. So you said you love ICU, doing your work there. Did you ever suffer from burnout in your time there?
So, as an actual ICU nurse, before I applied to become a nurse practitioner, I had not yet experienced burnout at the ICU.
Okay.
But so my NP schooling was 3 years.
Okay.
So 2 of those years, oh no, only a year and a half of that was spent in the ICU.
Okay.
So then after that, I went to rehab and I did some I did things that weren't as stressful on my brain so that I could focus on school. And that's when I started getting the burnout. Like, that's when I was like, there has to be more. I'm glad that I am in school because I can't be here for this long. I can't keep doing this. Like, I was looking at people, like, you know how you just, when you don't want to be there, you start looking at people sideways. It takes you a little longer to get up from your computer desk. Like, you just feel like, this isn't for me.
That's what I always say about my burnout, is when I started like feeling the way towards the patients. I always gave good nursing care. Of course, they would never know, but just in my mind, like, oh, another one. And that's how I was into nursing, like, to have an attitude when a new patient comes.
Exactly.
But I kind of had to check myself, like, okay, I don't like who you're becoming. Like, what is going on? So yeah, that burnout will definitely do that to you. So you were a nurse practitioner. You finished nurse practitioner, and then what areas did you work at in your nurse practitioner role?
Yeah. So my very first job was actually like a hospitalist role. And it was 24-hour shifts. I had to sleep there. So I would have like a set of scrubs that I labeled as my pajama scrubs, because ultimately, like, if a code was called or anything, I had to get up and get to the code, like, straight out of the bed. So that was not something that I could do for a long period of time. I think I stayed there for like 3 months because I couldn't sleep. For 24 hours, you're just worried that the phone's going to ring because someone is having a code and you have to go and respond. So I definitely could not do that. So my next job was actually as a GI nurse practitioner. So I practiced in the hospital for a private group, and I would round on their patients in the hospital. I loved that job. I didn't really know how much GI encompassed until I began to work in that position. And so I loved learning about all the different treatments and organs, and, it was fun. Yeah. And so that's pretty much, I went straight from that position to telehealth.
Okay. And did you transition full-time into telehealth, or did you kind of do half and half? What was the point where you were like, I have to get out and do?
Yeah. So there was a couple of reasons. One, I learned about telehealth and I knew I wanted to start doing telehealth. So I basically asked my providers if I could implement telehealth for them to help their practice. But they kind of sat on it and didn't really do anything about it and then COVID happened and everyone was forced to do telehealth, and they had no idea what to do. Like, their EMR system didn't even allow them to do like video visits. So they were doing phone calls, and I just felt that they definitely could have had a better telehealth conversion had we implemented it when I brought it up. But then after COVID and everything, I started realizing that I was seeing way more patients than they were, and I was only in the hospital, but patients would call the office and request to see me. So I knew I was making an impact on their practice. So at this point, I had been there for 2 years. And so I asked for a raise. And they basically laughed in my face and told me what I was asking for is equivalent to what a new resident physician would ask for. And basically put me right at $100,000 and told me that I should be happy that I made 6 figures before the age of 30.
Wow.
So I put my notice in without having another job. So I did go straight from that to telehealth because I wasn't going to wait.
I agree. And we had a comment, I think it was, can you see me when I do this?
I can still see you. Yes.
Okay. Kim O says she can certainly relate. Yeah. To the ICU and being hospitalists and sleeping there and all those things, all the crazy things they want us nurses to do, run this GI clinic, as you said, you were pretty much doing. And then they had the nerve to laugh in your face when patients were requesting you. So like you said, you were making an impact. So why not? You know, you had been there for 2 years and then they had the nerve to laugh in your face, but that's okay because that propelled you into your next journey, which was telehealth. So what were some of the telehealth jobs that you did over the years, or what was kind of
So after I proposed to them telehealth, and they said they didn't, take me seriously about it. I basically just put it into the universe that I was going to do telehealth before the end of the year. Okay. So I ended up doing a whole lot of research and a whole lot of Googling and just like taking any information that I could, and started my own telehealth practice in September of that year. Okay. And then it wasn't profiting enough to allow me to leave my full-time job. So once I left my full-time job, I just started applying to telehealth jobs because I knew I didn't want to go back into another clinic or in-person setting. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting a full-time telehealth position in around December of that year. And it was men's health that I was doing, strictly men's health. And then since then, I stayed with them for a while I continued to grow my own practice. Okay. And then I got to a point to where I was turning down people for my practice in order to work for them. Right. And so that's when I took the leap to just go fully into my own telehealth practice.
And so what made you think, or how did you know that you wanted to start your own telehealth clinic? Did someone tell you about it, or did you just think like, I could probably do this myself from your
half and half? So I'm the type of person who, if I see somebody else do it, I'm already like, I know I can do it. I just need to figure out how. Exactly. So in my NP clinical, when I was in NP school, my clinical rotation, probably 3 of my rotations was with the NP who owned her own clinic, and she owned her own walk-in clinic. And we stayed so busy. Like, she opened at 7 a.m. and people were standing outside because there was no appointments. It was walk-in. So they would stand outside at 6 o'clock in the morning and boom, she'd be full. So I'm like, I kept on asking her, after 3 semesters of being with her, I would question her, like, so this is yours, like, this is your clinic. Like, how did you decide that you could do a clinic? And I just started picking her brain. And because I was with her for so long, I ended up being one of the NP students at her new location. So then I got to watch that process. Like, I got to see the reps coming in, and I'm a very observant person. So I saw this NP do it right. I saw her opening 3 locations. Wow. And I said, I am going to own my own practice one day. And I would tell all of my family that, and I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how that would look. I didn't even know if I knew it was possible because I saw her do it, but I didn't have a plan. I just kept on saying, like, one day I'm gonna own my own practice. Yeah. And so she actually offered a course on how to start your own practice. This was so long ago that the course is on a USB. Like, she mailed it in a big envelope, and it had like handouts from the like McKesson, like the suppliers. It had the reps that she used, and then taped on it was a USB. And in that USB, it was a PowerPoint slideshow. And so that's how long ago I had this idea that I was going to start my own practice.
Love it. Love it. What has been your starting your own practice now? What has been the biggest lesson that you've learned in business so far?
I think probably the biggest is I built my practice by myself. Like, I built it before I invested in a coach, and I built it before I invested in a networking system. Mm-hmm. And I probably, even though it's only been 2 years, less than 2 years since I launched my telehealth practice, I know I would have been a lot further had I invested in a coach, or I invested. So that's probably the biggest lesson that I learned was, yes, you can do it on your own, but you don't have to do it on your own, and you can save so much time learning from the lessons from someone else, you know? So I'm glad I learned that lesson early and not 5 years down the line, but I think that that's been the biggest lesson for me.
And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like on my channel and page, I preach coaching so hard. And I don't want people to think it's because I'm in coaching, but just it's because of the value that coaching has shown me. And then I want to be able to pour into others and be able to coach them, because like you said, it saves you so much time, so much money. You're still going to make mistakes, but at least you won't make all the mistakes that they've made. Your mistakes will be hopefully smaller and cost you less money. And I wanted to ask, because I'm curious, and I know our viewers are probably curious as to what types of telehealth companies can a nurse practitioner start. And this is nurse practitioners. You're working on nurses. We can talk about that later, being able to start something. But for now, nurse practitioners, what are types of clinics or businesses nurse practitioners start with telehealth?
Honestly, when I say anything, I really mean anything. The only thing that I think you can't do is surgery, obviously. And even then, you could still do like the pre-surgical consults and surgical follow-ups. You know, a patient can still show their stitches and whatever it is, it still can be done. But I think that's probably the only one. So there's women's health, there's pediatrics, there's urgent care. Virtual urgent care is highly needed because people need to stop going to the emergency room for non-emergent situations. So the urgent care is a huge one, especially when you extend your hours. If you do that super early, like 4 to 8 a.m. slot, or you do 5 to 10 p.m., it's highly needed. Men's health, wellness, like supplements, vitamins. There's vitamins everywhere, but a lot of people who really want to understand it, they'll pay for a practitioner whose expertise is with supplements. Weight loss, skincare. Just today I spoke to a midwife, and we came up with 3 different ways that she could start her own telehealth practice. So the opportunities are endless. It's really about decide to be successful in the telehealth world. I'm sure you preach about this on your channel, and everyone preaches about it, because I used to hear it and I'm like, oh, here we go again. The word niche, but it is so true. So in telehealth, you will do the best when you niche down to whatever a particular population or a particular symptom / service. So there's a headache, there's a migraine telehealth practice that does very well, because if you suffer from migraines and someone's telling you that that's all they do in their clinic, wouldn't you pay for that? Like, this is where I belong. So think about my advice, and I know you didn't ask me this, but my advice for any NP who is wanting to go into telehealth is to really think about what it is that you do on your daily basis at your current job that you feel like you could do more for that person, or that service. You know, so for me, migraines is one of them. I didn't start a migraine clinic, but when I did do my clinical rotations and people would come in for migraines, I felt helpless to them because I felt like they needed a more detailed workup that I couldn't give them in this little 10-minute time frame that the clinic has given me, you know? So think about those, and that's what you should do your telehealth practice in.
Love it. Love it. And how easy or hard is it to contract yourselves out? Is that just like an application? Is that a simple phone call? Is that?
Yeah, it's one that I'm still learning, to be honest. I've been lucky enough to land 2 of them that have been doing well for me, but I do want to learn more about the exact process that, you know, that can be like a blueprint, something that can work in this situation and this situation. But it's not an application. It's definitely a proposal. And so you would propose your business to this business. It's called B2B, business to business. And you would always tell and focus and tell them how you would benefit them. It's never about what they can do for you. It's definitely what you can do for them. So I'll give you the example of how I proposed it to my prior employers, because what I was proposing would help them. They always had a wait list, like a 3 to 6 month long wait list. Wow. And it's because they had visits on their schedule that included lab work review or like an order for a colonoscopy. You don't need to physically see a person for that. Right. So I offer a telehealth adjunct practice to offer to do those services for their patients, so they stay happy and don't jump ship and go to a different practice. So that's how you can propose your telehealth practice to another already existing business.
Got it. Love that info. Okay, let's see. I wanted to ask you, I asked you about your biggest lesson learned, but what has been your biggest success in your business thus far?
Ooh. Okay.
I want to hear about your success.
I know. My biggest success was receiving my first paycheck from my business to my personal bank account.
Yes.
Yes. Like
a good one.
A lot of entrepreneurs do not pay themselves. And I was one of them, but because I invested in a coach, I now pay myself. But I'm a full-time entrepreneur now. So my business, I have to pay myself to pay my bills, but to see it, my business name come into my personal account, that was I was happy about that. That made me feel pretty successful.
I love that. That's definitely eye-opening when you're like, I paid my business did this, and now I'm paying. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yes. I was like, I can't wait until my paycheck hit, even though like I know when it's gonna hit because I have to release it, but like I couldn't wait.
Exactly. You answered this a little bit already, or you probably did answer it. Maybe you have another one, but I was going to ask you what advice would you give someone who is an NP wanting to start their own telehealth practice? You mentioned before I love that, to really look around, because that's what we have to do as nurses. We always think that we're burnout or we don't like the situation we're in, so let me go get another degree, when really we do so much already on the day-to-day basis that we just have to look around, take inventory of that, and think, how can I utilize this outside the hospital walls? There's a nurse on TikTok, I don't know if you follow her, but she's big in like foot care. So she owns an elder foot care business, and that's just amazing. Something she does at work all the time, wound care. The elderly loved her, and then she was like, I'm going to start my own business in that. And that's all you have to do, just take inventory of where you're at and make a business out of it. So is there any other advice you would give? Getting a coach.
Definitely get a coach. Take inventory of your own skills. I think a good question that we had over the weekend was, how do you start a telehealth practice without experience? And that goes back to exactly what you just said, is taking an inventory of the skills that you already have. Don't look at what everyone else is doing, right? So like right now you see you may or may not see, but like the med spa and IV hydration and post-op, and you see all of that. And then whenever you see telehealth, it's usually attached to a brick and mortar practice, right? That's just offering telehealth. Or you see like Teladoc, big corporations that are offering telehealth. So then you start thinking, if they're doing telehealth, why would someone choose me? So I need you to think about your nursing experience.
Right.
Have you ever walked onto the unit and your nurse manager tells you room 206 requested you? Yes. Even though you may or may not want it to be with room 206, but you were requested.
Right.
People will go to you because of you. People will choose your practice because of you. These big corporations, they are contracting NPs to work for them. So when you join as a patient, when you go onto their platform, you literally you can go 5 days in a row and you'll see 5 different doctors or 5 different NPs in a row. A lot of people don't want that. A lot of people really do want to have a relationship with their provider. And so you can offer that in your own practice. So take away ignore all the noise, like there's a billion restaurants in this world. we don't go to all of them. We go to the ones that we like.
Right.
So that would be my best advice, is to not look around at what everyone else is doing, but to look inside of you and see what can you do.
Absolutely. I love that. We have a couple questions here.
Okay.
And Carter asked, just curious, what does men's health entail? And I wanted to ask that, but I'm glad someone asked. I know.
So men's health is hormone replacement therapy. It can be hormone replacement therapy. It can be general health, because you'd be surprised how many men feel more comfortable doing their normal annual primary care with a clinic that registers as a men's health clinic. Like, they don't want to, it's virtual, so they wouldn't be sitting in a waiting room, but a lot of brick and mortar men's health clinics are very successful because they don't want to sit in a waiting room with women. They don't want to feel less masculine when they're sick and have to sit in a waiting room with other women. It's just it's a mindset thing that they do. And then of course, sexual dysfunction is a huge one. So those are pretty much the biggest services.
Yeah. Okay. And then Kim asks, do you have staff?
Currently, for my telehealth practice, I do not, but I'm onboarding a virtual medical assistant at this point. So I made it this far without staff because I favored automations. Mm-hmm. So my staff was the electronic system doing a lot of the things that I put in place for it to do, so that I only had to see the patient. But now that I'm trying to expand and, do more, then now I'm going to onboard a virtual medical assistant.
Love it. Moving on up. N. Carter asked, what are some of the limitations that you find in telehealth? That's a good question. Are there? Maybe there's not.
I mean, the biggest one is the physical exam that people get the most caught up on. But once you learn how to do a provider guided exam, which goes back to inventorying taking inventory of your skill level. If you're not confident in your physical examination skills for this particular group of people or this particular symptom service, then you're not going to be able to guide someone how to do a physical exam for you. Right. So for me, I'm extremely comfortable with GI, obviously, because I was a GI NP for 2 years. Right. So those are what I see a lot with virtual urgent care, right? Abdominal pain. So I guide them on how to do the exam for me. And then if there's red flags, I refer them off the platform to urgent care. If there's no red flags, then I continue to investigate and come up with my differential diagnosis and treat as necessary. So I think it's hard for me to answer that question, because telehealth is sky is the limit. As long as you know your scope of practice, mm-hmm. and you know what you can do, not only with your license, but in that state as well. Mm-hmm. You follow those same regulations that you would in your in-person clinic that you're working for someone else for. You follow those same things and you're fine.
Right. I love you. Definitely have my wheels turning of like, what should I do?
See?
Something, very specific, and I'm thinking about it. So what's next for you in your business?
Growing.
You said onboarding a MA. Mm-hmm. And what will they do for you? What will their kind of practice be?
So as my patient, what do they call it? As my clinic grows, so as I get more patients per day than I'm used to, mm-hmm. My automations are still there, but there are some things that a live person needs to do. So I usually go and review their intakes before the visit, like about 30 minutes before the visit. But because I'm getting more and I'm not having that time to review it, because I need to make sure they sign the consent forms before I actually get on a call with them. Okay. So the role for my medical assistant will definitely be to review intakes and make sure all of that is completed before appointment time. And if it's not, to go ahead and reach out to them to, make a new appointment to reschedule. And then also I am huge on one-to-one communication in my patient portal. So, kind of managing that for me, diverting questions that I don't necessarily have to answer, but they just need general information. Kind of buffering that system for me.
Love it. Love it. So yeah, growing. I was going to say, did you ever answer that? Yes, you did. Growing the business, growing it, of course. And then, I was going to switch a little bit and ask you about your self-care, because I think it's important for, business owners too, because a lot of my first business was all on self-care and nurses and self-care and that whole thing. So I really want to keep that integrated in my nurse entrepreneur business, because I think it's important. And as I always say, you can go from being burnt out at the bedside to being very burnt out in your own business and feel lost and feel, did I make the right decision? So I think it's self-care is still important as an entrepreneur. So do you find self-care is important as an entrepreneur now more than ever, or do you not? And if so, what are your favorite types of self-care activities that you like to do?
Okay. Self-care is more important now than ever. Okay. Ever. Entrepreneurship is, I would never choose a different lifestyle now that I'm in it.
Right.
But you definitely have to take some time for yourself. And I mean, whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly, you have to. So my favorite self-care is, if I don't have time to catch a flight, then I have to sit by the pool. I love being outside and just kind of relaxing, inviting my family and my friends over, and we just have a good time, like laughing. I think laughing is my self-care. I just want to feel just happy and joyful. So being around people that I know I can feel like that with is an amazing version of self-care. But ultimately, my real self-care is taking a vacation. Like, just go ahead, leave, go near some water, listening to the ocean waves in person is way different than on Pandora before you go to sleep. So
for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. So let me see make sure there's no other question. Guys, if you have questions watching, please feel free to leave them in the chat box. We have a few more minutes. If you are interested in telehealth or starting your own telehealth business, Tiff is here to answer any questions that you guys have. Tiff, so you started your own telehealth business and now you are teaching other nurse practitioners how to start there. So tell us a little bit about your program.
Okay. So, my platform is called Telehealthpreneur, and it's the perfect collision between telehealth and entrepreneurship. So I do a couple of things on that platform. One of the things is mentoring nurse practitioners to launch their own telehealth practice in whichever specialty or niche that is, because ultimately the framework is the same. It's just about who your target audience is after that. And I absolutely love witnessing NPs, just like the light comes on exactly how they can live out their passion and still practice as a nurse practitioner in it. Love it. And then I also use my licenses, my multiple licenses to support nurses in their entrepreneurship journey. If they are wanting to launch an IV clinic, a med spa, anything like that requires a medical director. There are certain states that I am able to use my license for medical directorship. So I do that, and then also offer good faith evaluations in over 40 states. I've collaborated with another NP, and we can cover, I think we're up to like 40 to 45 states. So the good faith evaluations are required for people walking into a med spa before they get services. So that it has to be done by an NP, a PA, an MD, or a DO. So if your spa, as a nurse, if you're the one running your spa, then your clients definitely have to do a good faith evaluation before you perform those services. So by partnering with me and my platform, we offer that service virtually. So you don't have to depend on your medical director, who 9 times out of 10 will not be available for that good faith evaluation. We also found that by offering this service, it kind of eliminates that obstacle to securing a medical director, because a lot of medical directors are like, I don't have time to do your good faith evaluation, so this isn't going to work for me, So by partnering with us, you can already eliminate that requirement from your medical director.
Yes, love that. Someone asks, have you been able to replace your salary?
Girl. So that's a good question. We talked about this weekend. I talked about this with another entrepreneur too. The answer is no, I have not replaced my salary, but I don't miss that salary. So the amount of life and fulfillment that I feel now than I did before makes up for whatever money I'm missing from my salary. Like the freedom and to treat my patients the way that I know I want to treat them.
Yeah.
It's way more fulfilling than the money that I was getting and feeling drained, feeling just like, this is not where I want to be. So the answer is no, but I am able to cover everything that I want and need, but I have not yet replaced my full NP salary.
And I'm sure it's, and we talked about this too, with us loving to live a lot of life on a meaningful salary. So I'm sure if you wanted to replace that, you could just
we talked about that too. Because I'm only working 2 days this week.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So if she went back to working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 at this, yes, you can. But can you guys imagine paying all of your bills and being comfortable and still taking trips for your self-care? Because Tiffany travels a lot, and working 2 days a week, working 3 days a week. That is, that is so fulfilling in itself. I know.
Yes, it's so worth it. Like so worth. I think this month was the only month that I didn't leave the country since the new year. So like I wouldn't replace that.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So how can nurse practitioners reach out to you if they are interested in your training? Are you having a webinar coming up, or where do you
look at you pushing me? Yes. So first I'm Telehealthpreneur.
Yeah. And I'll link all her information under the after this is done.
Okay, so I'm Telehealthpreneur on everything. Instagram is where I spend the most of my time. So I do a lot of educational reels and lives, and I'm always available for questions. On that profile, I have a link that you can click and you can schedule a one-to-one call with me. And if you're interested in the GFE services, you can fill out an interest form on the website as well. I am launching a boot camp that I'll be announcing soon. If you're on my text list or my email list, you'll get the announcement first. And because I do want to keep it intimate, because I want to touch every single person that is in it. But basically, it's going to be a 6-week boot camp where I guide you step by step on how to build and launch your telehealth practice. Yes. So you definitely want to join my text list. It's also on my Instagram, so I don't want to say it and you probably on your phone right now, so you can't text. But it'll be on my Instagram, so you can be one of the first ones to hear about it for sure.
Yeah, and I will definitely be in that course because I am so interested.
Yes,
I'm starting that. I think that will probably replace my little one day at the hospital. I'm still doing but I has a chokehold on me. I don't know why.
You don't know why.
But yeah, this has been let's see, In Carter says yes, and that this has been very inspiring. I never thought about telehealth before. Well, that's why I am here, to show you guys things that you've never thought about before, because there's so much out here for nurses and nurse practitioners to get into that you can own by yourself. I mean, when you see the amount of people who, nurses all the time ask, well, can I start that business? You can start whatever kind of business you want. Even if you're a nurse and you're not a nurse practitioner, all you have to do is hire the right people. There's many business people who have nothing to do with medicine, but they know medicine is where the big bucks are. They just team up with the right people, get under the right coach and mentorship, and they just figure out how they can do it. So as a nurse practitioner, you can start any business that you want. It doesn't matter what your background is. You just have to know who you need to hire to get the job done. So I'm glad you guys have been inspired by this conversation. It was a long time coming. We will definitely are in the talks of doing more, especially with our inner circle. A group of women who are doing lots of big things and big businesses that they're owning themselves. So stay tuned for that. And if you're interested, again, I'm going to link all of Tiff's information underneath in the comment section, and you can reach out to her and sign up for the course. Okay. Any last words, Tiff?
No, thank you so much for having me on your platform. This is my first YouTube live, y'all.
Easy
So
right?
thank you. And I can't wait to meet some of you.
Yes. All right, guys, we will see you later.